Hi, this is Brad Willis. I'm the moderator of the MetalStorm fan group, which, as I mentioned in the other videos, we can be found on Facebook at www.facebook.com/groups/MetalStorm fan group. We've got 300 some odd members at the current time. I think we have a lot of the best players in the world. It's a great place to learn some new techniques, maybe to share some techniques and kills, and just get to know some of your fellow MetalStorm players. Now, this will be MetalStorm training video number 4, and we're going to talk about missile evasion. Now, that's a little different topic than what I spoke of on my last video. The last one was about evading your opponent, evading meaning just staying away from them so you don't get hit. This will be about evading the missiles when they're flying at you, and what is the technique to avoid getting hit. Now, let me say that some people are better than others at evasion. I think I'm probably average to above average, but there's some people that are tremendous. But no matter how good you are, you're probably going to get hit at some point. But you can certainly minimize the damage to yourself by learning how to evade. Now, I've started with this picture for a reason. Obviously, let's assume hypothetically here that you are in Striker, which is the black plane, of course, and your opponent, represented by the plane to the left, is coming at you. Now, I think you know as well as I do what's about to happen. He's going to shoot at you. Now, he may have stock missiles, he may have credit missiles or coin missiles, and of course coin will track the best. If it's stock, you really won't have a real hard time figuring out how to evade, I assume. Stock missiles are not hard to evade. But if he's got anything from rams to coin missiles, especially like Bisnos or Lancers, it's going to be tough. And you can see here that I am in an agility class plane, which makes it even harder because if I take a couple of shots, I'm going to blow up. And he is in weapons class, so he can take more shots from me. So let's imagine you're headed toward him and he's about to fire. Now what's going to happen, obviously, is you're going to have this missile tracking from your left, where he's located at, to where your position is, to the right. So the missile is tracking outward from left to right. What you want to do is break the plane of that missile. Okay, so how do you do that? Well, if you do nothing, you're probably going to get hit. If you roll to the right, you may be able to avoid the missile. It's certainly better than doing nothing. But you got to remember it's tracking to the right. So when you roll to the right, you're rolling in the same direction that that missile is tracking. So again, you got a shot at avoiding getting hit, but it's not your best option. What is your best option? Technically, when he is on your left like that, you're going to want to roll toward your opponent. So if you're on the other side, you'd roll right. Being that he is on your left, you're going to want to roll left. So as that missile tracks to your right, you will wait till pretty late when it's not quite about to hit you, or then you have a real problem. But when it's getting close, if you do it too early, that missile can adjust and come at you from your new position. So you wait till it's almost upon you. You roll very hard and sharply to the opposite direction that it's tracking, and then hopefully it goes right by you. And this technique usually works. Now, a technique I also use quite a bit is just to roll down. Now, to roll down, you got to make sure you have altitude. And in this particular picture I've used, I'm only at 350 feet or meters or whatever it's supposed to be. So I don't really have a lot of altitude to do that technique, I should say, in this particular photo. When I actually play, I may, but rolling down very sharply can also a lot of times break the path of that oncoming missile. I think, though, that no matter what you do, you don't want to overthink it too much. Do something, because if you do nothing, you're going to get hit. But if you can remember where to roll, just roll toward your opponent. But again, very sharply, and when the missile is very close to where you're at. And then, of course, especially if you're using agility, you're going to want to be heading at that opponent very fast, because, of course, guess what they're going to do? They're going to fire another missile, or as many as they can, until you get by them. And, of course, being an agility class plane, once you get past them, that's where you start to have the advantage, because you have greater agility, and hopefully you can win in the dogfight. But when you're just facing your opponent like you are in this picture, that's when it's basically just a slugfest, and your opponent has the bigger hammer, and if you don't do something about it, he's going to win. So what we're going to do here in just a moment is we're going to play an actual game, and we're going to try to use some of these techniques and see if we can keep from getting hit too very much by missiles. Now, as I mentioned, no matter how good you are, you're going to get hit. But using evasion techniques, I think that you can minimize the number of times you get hit. And before I play, just to briefly mention, the way I felt is I couldn't dodge anything, I mean, and it was very frustrating. I would come across these players, particularly if they're in weapons class, they're cranking off coin, credit, missiles, whatever at me, and I couldn't get out of their way, and I didn't even have a chance to win because I couldn't get close to them without blowing up. So developing some reasonable level of missile evading technique has helped me, I think, a lot in terms of my game. Now, we're going to play a game here. I have no idea what type of missile, what type of plane, which particular scene we'll be on, but we're going to give it our best shot, and we're going to try our best to avoid being hit by missiles. In fact, I'm probably going to intentionally put myself in harm's way and try to evade, which is probably going to also mean that I get hit. So, but what I'm trying to do is not just win the game, which would be ideal, but the bigger picture here is to demonstrate technique. Again, my technique's not perfect, but I tell you, it's a lot better than it was when I was a new player. So we're going to go ahead and get into MetalStorm. It's going to reboot here, and we'll find ourselves a game. Now, I'm going to go ahead and use Striker. As you can see, it is a plane with good agility. It doesn't have any extra energy, I should say. I'm sorry, I can't speak. Which a lot of times you need that energy to roll and to maneuver and that sort of thing. So you do have to be a little bit more careful about your energy levels when you're flying a plane that does not have energy. Reasonable damage levels, so if I hit him, it's gonna do a number on him, relatively speaking, in terms of agility planes. I do have a little bit of armor with this particular plane, so that will allow me to take a little bit of a punch, but remember, the short of it is when you're in any agility plane, you cannot take much of a hit from weapons. So let's go ahead and play a game, and let's see what happens. And again, our focus here is not going to be so much on winning, it's going to be on evading missiles. So we're actually probably going to give our opponent some free shots at us. So let's go to auto match. Let's see who we end up with. And it's waiting for the connection, as you can see. And hopefully we will get an opponent. If we don't, we'll go ahead and cancel and try it again. It's taking a little longer than I'd like, so I'm going to go ahead and cancel. And I'm going to try that one more time, versus mode auto match. Let's see who pops up. We got somebody this time, I think. Now this is going to be tough. This guy's very good, and he doesn't usually use coins, but he is this time. Now I'm going to come right at him. First thing I'm going to do is gain some altitude, because he is in a, now this guy is really good with his plane. He's in Wrath, W-R-A-I-T-H, I guess it's spelled. And that is not a very agile plane, but he does a great job. And you see he's just firing like crazy. Now he's on my left. He fired. I'm rolling very hard. Now you see he didn't hit me. He's coming back, and I rolled to the right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just accelerating. Of course, he's doing the same. He's trying to get a beat on me. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get kind of close to him. I'm going to build up a little bit of energy. This all ties in with my lesson yesterday about keeping away from your opponent. And I'm basically just following that arrow. Now I want to build up more energy. He's not giving me enough of a chance. I've got to keep accelerating because he's trying to get far away from me. So I'm not going to be able to come at him quite in the way I want to. But after I build up just a little bit here, we'll go ahead and come after him. Again, very tough player using very tough missiles. This guy's hard to beat even when he uses credit missiles. So let's go ahead and roll, and we'll come back at him. Now I'm trying to use my agility advantage to get a beat on the guy. I'm actually a little concerned, frankly, with this guy to open it up too much, because I know he is very good. I've played him quite a few times, and you can see how agile he is actually with the plane that is not an agile plane. But let's open it up on him. We may well get hit, but I'm talking about avoiding missiles, so let's see what we can do here. So you see I put myself in harm's way, didn't get hit. Let's come around, we'll spin, and I'll put myself in harm's way again. Let's just go away from him. He's going to fire at me in a minute. Watch this. I'm going to spin towards him. I'm spinning the other direction. Now, I didn't do it quick enough, and he did catch me with the second. But you can see we're avoiding most of the missile hits. And there he is. Oops. Again, doing a very good job. I'm slowing down, trying to get a little bit of action on him. Now, let's go ahead, and you see my energy on the left-hand side, it's almost depleted, and that's going to make it tough for me to really make a run at him. So again, as I mentioned yesterday, I'm just trying to kill some time until I can go after him. I don't have a lot of time, and this game I hope will be a draw. We'll see. But let's give him another shot at us. Let's open it up. He's going to fire at me in just a minute, okay? So, which he did. Didn't hit me, as you could see. and we'll just kind of try to find him, see if we can't put a shot on him. And this thing's going to end in a draw, I think. Well, let's try it again. He's a real good player. Let's see if he wants to play again. The way I'm playing, he's got a good shot of beating me, I think, because I am giving him opportunities by opening myself up. I wouldn't normally open myself up that much. Well, I guess he doesn't want to play. Well, anyway, that's enough of this video. You got the general idea. You could see this guy was using Biznos, which is, I think it's the best tracking missile. It's certainly right up there. And again, he's a very solid player, as I mentioned. I think he hit me once, and that was just my error, really. It was a mental error. After I avoided his missile the first time, what I should have done is anticipated the fact he's about to fire and cut back again. I didn't do that, and he clipped me. But at the same time, he didn't blow me up. So it gives you a little bit of an idea of the type of technique you need to use to dodge some of these missiles. Again, nobody's going to be perfect, even if you're terrific at it. I had one guy I played recently that was one of the best evaders I've ever played, and he was just evading, and I'm sure he was laughing himself to death, and I just kept shooting at him, and finally I blew him up, and I'm sure he wasn't very happy about it. But that guy might have been the best that I've played, and even the best can be hit. But I think if you got to remember a couple of things. Number one, do something. Even if you're not sure of the exact technique, make a sharp move in the opposite direction or down or whatever, or else you're going to get hit. And ideally, what you got to want to do is just basically roll late and roll very quickly toward your opponent, and then be ready to do the same thing again. And what you're going to probably want to do the second time you roll is roll in the opposite direction, because if you think back to that photo I originally showed you where you were to the right, your opponent's to the left, when he fires that missile, again, it's tracking outward. It's tracking from left to right. So your first roll, you're trying to break the plane and have the missile go by you to the right. Now when he fires again, now your position has changed since you rolled to the left. So what are you going to do the second time? Now you're going to most likely roll very hard back to the right. Okay, that one time I got hit, that's what I should have done. That's the mistake that I made on that. But anyway, hopefully this will help you. It's something to practice in terms of your technique. And I think that especially if you're an agility pilot, but for almost anybody, learning how to evade missiles can really help you a lot. You can use this technique in just about any plane. I use it all the time in weapons class, especially with Sky Demon. It's harder to evade in weapons class than it is with agility, but it's very possible. And I would say I evade probably the large majority of the missiles that are fired at me, even when I'm flying in weapons class. So it can be done, and certainly there's many people better than I am at this. So that's the video. Probably spent enough time on this. If you have any questions, feel free to ask either on the group or in the comments here on the YouTube video. Once again, I would like to thank you for your time in terms of watching this video, and we will see you in the skies, of course, as always, playing MetalStorm.